Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be, is she toxic or not? Well, I've got two emails I'm going to go through with you today. And I'll probably talk a little bit about a phone session that I just had in the last couple of days with a guy. And it's like these two emails came in like right at the same time, the same day that I was having, that I had this phone session with another guy. And I see this so much in my phone sessions, guys involved with women that are just not good women to date, and they're trying to have a relationship with women that are just not good quality dating and relationship prospects. So I got a quote that I wrote on this topic, and then we'll go into the first guy's email. And the quote says, "It's not your job to fix broken people. You're only responsible for fixing and becoming the best version of yourself. You can't have a healthy relationship based upon someone's potential. You must see their present reality and date or reject them based upon how they are showing up now. When you condition your happiness upon being loved and treated the way you want to be, but ignore the reality of how they actually treat you, you will suffer. See people as they are, not better than they are or worse than they are, because you can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality." So you probably heard me say many times, and I'll continue saying this, and as long as I continue to do these videos and I'm still 6 feet above ground, is that ideally, if you're looking for a long-term relationship, I have found this personally in my own life. I wrote about it in my first book, 3% Man, is that women that have good relationships with their fathers and their mothers, and the parents have a good, healthy relationship. I do talk to guys sometimes, and they're like, "Oh yeah, she's got a great relationship with her dad," but yet she walks all over her dad and treats her dad like a bitch. That's not a happy, healthy relationship. I'm talking about where she actually respects her father, talks to her father, listens to his advice and his counsel, seeks it out. Her parents talk things out. It's extremely rare to see that these days, because there's so many people that come from broken homes, or where the mother was missing or the father was missing, or there was just lots of cheating and lots of chaos growing up. It's we're all products of our environment. And if people grow up in a toxic environment, most people, close to 100% of them, it's like 99.999% of them, will never do the work on themselves to fix what's broken, or fix what's wrong with them, or fill in their knowledge gaps. Most people aren't going to read a book like 3% Man or Mastering Yourself and try to figure out how they can reach their full potential. It's just, they just simply won't do it. It's too much work, it's too much effort. And then, because fixing something about yourself means you have to admit that something is messed up in the first place. And most people just would rather pretend that the elephant in the room is not actually there. So with that said, let's go to the first guy's email and see what we can see. He says, "Coach, I've read your book 10 to 12 times. I know I still need more. Here's the deal. I dated this woman about 2 years. I called it off 6 weeks ago because she broke our shared values and trust and was using insecure behavior after she abruptly left a family dinner in my home after a political argument and cried in the bathroom. Red flag." Well, quite frankly, lots of people are having difficulties with their family, especially in this political day and age. I know I got people in my family. Most people in my family are Trump supporters, and I got plenty of people that are kind of lefties in my family that love Biden and they think Trump is horrible, and it really makes for some interesting holiday conversations, to say the least. And I have a few friends that are just absolutely hate Trump and think Biden and Kamala are just the bomb and going to be amazing, and life will be amazing once, it won't go back to what we had before under the Clintons and the Bushes and all that. And it just makes for interesting conversation, and especially now, people get mad and they don't talk. It's like, I just see over my the last 4 or 5 years, just on my occasionally when I do go onto my Facebook, it's like I see people that I was friends with and I'd known for my whole life that they've unfriended me because they're pissed off about my political views. It's just the nature of reality. And she said it was because I didn't stick up for her. So obviously, if family members are berating her and not being respectful, yeah, you need to stand up for your girl and not let people attack her. However, that doesn't excuse this other behavior, which we're about to see. She comes from a broken home, and her dad committed suicide 2 years ago around the time we dated. So we have been through a lot for a young couple. I am 27 and she's 25. So I caught her on the phone more than usual, texting, which she rarely does around me, and found out she was flirting with a guy in Colorado saying, "I can't wait to meet you," and "I hope I'm not too much," among other things. Yeah, that's not something you want to see your girlfriend of 2 years doing. That's just hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more. I erupted, immediately woke her ass up, went full rage saying it's over, and having a mini meltdown saying it's over. Well, I mean, obviously that's a major violation of your trust. This is your girlfriend. You're in a relationship. It sounds like she's staying over at your house. I don't know. Maybe you guys even live together. But I mean, that just blows the trust up right there. If she's having intimate conversations, like she's trying to start a relationship with somebody else, this is what you see a lot of. Chicks that come from broken homes, no dad, or a bad relationship with their dad. They're just insecure. They never learn these things. They never learned a healthy way to interact with other men. And because they were constantly disappointed as a little girl growing up and daddy not coming through, then what happens is they treat all men this way. They're desperate for male attention and validation because they didn't get it as a little girl. And like I mentioned in a video I did this past week, it's like they create a Frankenstein boyfriend where they got one guy that comes over and fixes their car or unclogs her toilet or whatever, goes out and he's her emotional tampon and listens to her complain about all the guys she's actually sleeping with and how horrible they are. Then she's, usually got one guy she's actually having sex with and sleeping with, and then another guy that she's kind of dating or that takes her out for dinner, but he's kind of stuck in friend zone. She might have another guy that does projects for her. Maybe he works on her website for free, or maybe he cuts her lawn, or maybe he does things for her for free that she should be paying. And, she kind of dangles the carrot in front of all these guys because obviously they're, the ones that are stuck in friend zone are hoping to get in her pants. And she just uses men to get the things that she wants. And obviously, in this particular case, it's like if it was me waking up to that, I'd be like, I don't care what the excuses are. We're done. You're out of here. There's no second chances after that. A house divided against itself cannot stand. It's bad enough with all the political stuff and people not getting along. I mean, right after Trump won, it's like half of my family, and they're all lefties. They live in Seattle and other places which have been in the news lately. And it's like they were so mad that we voted for Trump. They're like, we're not coming to Thanksgiving this year. It's like, whatever. Suit yourself. Enjoy the snow. Enjoy the 50 below weather. And we'll be in 80-degree weather in the sun down here in South Florida. He says, it is just I feel we have grown so much, I do not have anything more to give. Well, it's not your job to fix her. It's not your job to make her into a loyal girlfriend. You gave this girl 2 years, and she started trying to create a relationship with some other dude. She's back on her feet, but obviously has a lot of baggage, trauma, and things to figure out on her own. Yeah, that's her journey. It's her path. You were a good boyfriend for 2 years, and this is how you get repaid. She always accuses me of checking out women, and when I am nice to employees or a woman, she always gives me shit like, why are you flirting with her? Yeah, that's the hallmark of a lying, devious, cheating person. We remember, as I talked about in 3% Man, no one will ever do or say anything to you that isn't a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves in a moment. In other words, we all project what's inside of us. And so for the liar and the cheater, what do they typically do? They're always accusing the other person of lying and cheating when in reality, that's how they are. So if you're dating a woman and she starts acting that way, that's a major red flag. She's either extremely insecure or she's the type that would be a liar and a cheater. And you have to put her in her place and see what happens after that. I had the same conversation with my ex-wife many years ago because she was getting jealous and insecure of other women around me. And it just got to be such a pain in the ass. It was because she was insecure. And on some level, she knew that she didn't completely have my heart at that time. And he obviously puts in big bold letters. It's such a turnoff to obviously be accused by your girlfriend of cheating. He says, right after I dumped her, she said she was getting a job in Colorado. We live far away, and so as an aspiring career man, I thought the best way would be to cut her off completely and then temporary until my feelings are mellow. I mean, obviously, that's where this other dude lives, so hey, have a nice life. Good luck. I hope you guys send me a Christmas card. Turns out after blocking her, she emailed me multiple times to reach out. I set a date, but she got emotional and honestly had to leave. Notice a pattern here? It's like, why? It's like she violated the if you take her back, she'll just keep doing it. There's no consequences. And probably you're not the first guy she's done this to. She's probably screwed around and probably every guy she's been with and talked to other dudes behind their backs when she wasn't happy. That's just how these people behave. They don't know any better. This is how they learned. And that's why it's best just to not get involved with women like this. 1 week later, we got a tea and hung out. Not much besides kissing, but had fun, had a great time like the old days. So I unblock her, and she's texting me on and off, and it got to the point again that I just can't have this woman linger, Corey. She tells me and is down to hang, but part of me wants to move on and be a mystery. She said if I block her again from all communication, she'll go crazy. And she even noted lose control. So you go, well, why don't you go crazy and go lose control on your new boyfriend in Colorado? My question, do I block forever? Because this woman is so fine. There it is. And during this pandemic, she is a love in my love and treasure, but I just do not want her sexy ass distracting me to fully move on. Out of sight, out of mind for me. Well, if it was me, I'd have been done with her. I wouldn't have gotten back together and hooked up or any of that. It's just like a woman like that violates your trust. You're enabling her behavior. You're teaching her that there's no consequences for lying and cheating and being devious. And so by giving her another chance, you're enabling her behavior. So this reminds me that, back in the beginning, I was talking about the guy that I had a phone session with recently, and so it's a similar situation. This guy met this particular woman in one of his activities and his group of friends, and they started talking and just kind of shooting the shit. Very kind of casual. He thought she was hot. And obviously she revealed that she was interested, but I have a boyfriend, came out of her mouth. And so because of this activity that they shared, they continued seeing each other at this activity because, I think it was at least once a week. They would, bump into each other. And over the course of a month or two, then they started hanging out. And then eventually she revealed she had a crush on him. And, but she had a boyfriend. And she lived with the guy. And, the Mr. Captain Save-A-Ho inside of him thought, hey, I'm different. I got Corey Wayne's book, 3% Man. I can fix all this. I know exactly what to do. I mean, at the end of the day, the book brings out the best and the worst and the worst. And in this particular case, he's just like, he did the same thing. I wrote about this. I thought I'd be different. And the reality is if you get involved with one of these women that just doesn't value loyalty, she never learned it, she never saw it growing up, it's like you can't expect her to value that. She may want to. She may tell you she wants to be loyal. But when you look at her actions, she's a drifter. And so back to my client, it's like then, they're hanging out one time and one thing leads to another and they have sex. And then, I don't know, a few weeks, a month or so later, she ends up finally breaking up with this other guy. And then so they start dating. They rent a place together. She moves to a different state. he goes to move with her. They get a house together. And then he's still kind of commuting back and forth because he can kind of work remotely from wherever, from, the state that, they were going to move from. And then he's slowly over time, what happens is he's like ends up paying all the rent. And it's like she's not giving him money for that. And then on top of that, she says, oh, this new guy at work I've been hanging out with, and she's had over to the house, and he's noticed over the last, month or two that she's not as into him as she was. And she's talking more about this other guy at work. And, he had made some mistakes. He got to the point when he really started caring, he started over pursuing a little bit, and so what happened is as this woman's attraction drops, she just starts inviting attention from other guys. It's just the way she is. She leaves her boyfriend for him, but he thinks she's going to stay with him forever because she's like, I love you. This is amazing. It's a soul connect. I mean, everything you can think of out of the movies, everything. It's like she was totally crazy for this guy because he was unattainable and he wouldn't date her initially in the beginning because she had a boyfriend. But once they started hooking up, he just figured, hey, I'm Captain Save-A-Ho. And then on top of that, she's like, I miss my ex-boyfriend. She started telling him that a few months ago. So she's obviously talking to the ex-boyfriend, and she's talking to the guy, that one of her coworkers, who she's had over to the house that he's basically paying all the rent for now. And I was like, he's like, but do you think if I do everything in your book properly this time, that her interest will go back up and she'll blow this other guy off? It's like, there's a good chance of that, but as soon as you slip up, which is inevitably going to happen, you're not perfect. You're not going to be able to be the best boyfriend all the time, 24/7, 365 days a year for the rest of your life. You're going to get busy. You're going to get complacent. You're going to get caught up. And when her interest drops, this is what she does. This is what she knows. It doesn't matter what words come out of her mouth. If you look at her actions, she cheated on her ex. Now she's starting the process of cheating on you after telling you that she was your soulmate. She's a sex playmate, fuck buddy, friends with benefits. That's it. Open relationship. She's not girlfriend material. And it's hard for a guy to accept that because in his mind, we're soulmates. It was so amazing. The sex was so passionate. We were staring into each other's eyes. And doesn't matter. She belongs to the streets. So let's go to the second guy's email. He says, hey, Coach, I've only read your book twice so far, but it has already made me realize where I went wrong with this girl I dated for about 2 months. During our time together, she had repeatedly stated that her ex-boyfriend had neglected her, which made her break up with him 2 or 3 times. While she was with me, he was texting her daily, harassing her at work, leaving flowers in her car, and came to her doorstep crying one night. She claimed that his behavior was completely out of line and she was going to block him and cut him out of her life. That's another thing. I personally, when you start dating a woman in the beginning and she's telling you about these things, you don't get involved with women like this that got these messy exes in the background that are showing up at their house at night. Because think about it. If you're there, you go back on a date and then the ex-boyfriend shows up, people are nuts. One of my brother's friends from college got murdered because he just happened to go home with this particular girl. And he hadn't really even started dating or anything. And he had no idea she had a crazy ex-boyfriend. The guy shot him in the head and killed him in front of her place. And then turned the gun on himself and shot himself in the head. And said, his last words were, to see what you made me do. And he blew his brains out right in front of her. So it's like, you don't know. It's not worth it, man. No chick is worth it. Remember, no drama allowed. And so when you talk to a woman who's got drama in her life, it's like, you just go, check, please. She was also already talking to me about getting married and moving in with her, but I pushed her away by showing signs of insecurity. Keeping in mind, this was within 2 months of knowing each other. So obviously you were good right out of the gate. But when we broke up, due to reasons I have come to realize through your work, she went back to him and posted on social media that he is the best thing that has happened to her and things like that. Well, she's his problem now. He says, I know that I drove her back to him, but my question is, if I hadn't done that, does her behavior suggest that she's toxic and would have backup boyfriends anyways? Yeah, it sounds like she probably is not a good judge of character. Again, a woman growing up without a good, strong, masculine father presence, whether it's a grandfather or an uncle or a stepdad or a dad. That's just what they do. And it's not your job to fix them. The idea is you want to observe. You're on the lookout for this behavior. That's why you got to be inquisitive, especially in the beginning, and find out about the parents and the family. But like I said, I've had clients go, oh, Corey, but she's got a great relationship with her dad. And then when I ask them specific questions about the interactions between the daughter and the father, you find out how dysfunctional the mother and the father's relationship is. Like, no, that's not a healthy relationship, bro. But they're like, well, she's got a good relationship with her dad. Well, if it's an unhealthy relationship, that's not a good relationship. If he spoiled her and she walks all over him, no, that's not good. He says, if I had played it right, would it even matter with this girl? Probably not. Look at her actions. You just bottom line, what are her actions? She definitely hadn't had the father figure in her life like you talk about. No drama allowed. Ding, ding, we have a winner, ladies and gentlemen. Nope. She belongs to the streets. I would just like to recognize these red flags in the future before I invest in someone like this. Well, again, ask about the family. Ask about her parents. Because the more messy the home life is, the more messy she's going to be. And it's like, I've seen that so many times in my own life. And, at this point, and doing this for a living, having done tens of thousands of phone sessions over the years, it's like, it's as predictable as the sun coming up in the east and setting in the west. Now, it doesn't mean that 100% of women are like this. But the odds that a woman has done the work on herself and fixed herself, it's so slim. It's so slim. That's just, unfortunately, that is the reality. So the way I look at it, it's like she did you a favor. It's like you learned from it. You had a good experience. You got to hook up with her. You got a little bit better with the fundamentals in 3% Man, which is obviously what I want to see you guys doing. Because the goal is to have fun, learn something, get better. Pretty simple. So if you do that, it's a win. It's a victory. But the next time around is you got to be more discerning with the women that you get involved with. And so if you haven't read 3% Man or Mastering Yourself First, you can go to understandingrelationships.com, subscribe to the email newsletter, and you can read them right in your web browser, in your mobile device or your computer. And if you'd like to talk to me, maybe you got a situation you're kind of down the road and you're kind of emotionally in pretty deep and you'd like my opinion on whether or not you think it's salvageable or you made a good choice, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen on any page of my website and book a coaching session with yours truly. And until next time, I will talk to you soon.